Welcome! You know, when we saw Moana, the last thing I expected was to have a Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson song stuck in my head for a month. But that's not what's important right now. What is important is that on Monday, Pixar released its brand new extended teaser trailer with 48 new seconds of footage from Cars 3. So today, we're going to go frame by frame and give our review, analysis, and predictions for Cars 3. Okay, so if you haven't seen the full trailer yet, I recommend you go watch that before you watch this. There is a link down in the description. But just so you're not confused, this is an extended trailer. So the first half of it we have already seen. You can watch our full review on that by clicking on the card. But the first half we have already seen all of that. So this video is just talking about the second half, which starts at the 42-second mark of the new trailer. We start off with an overhead shot of a new racetrack, the Motor Speedway of the South. Then we cut to a different track, the Grand Ole Raceway, where we see lightning coming in no better than fourth. The name Grand Ole Raceway immediately makes me think of the Grand Ole Opry, but I have no idea if that's actually the reference they're going for here. The voiceover while this is happening says, "You will never be the racer you once were. Accept it." Based on what they were saying, my first thought was this is the first time we're going to hear Cruz Ramirez talk, but that's obviously not the case because Cruz actually is a female character being voiced by Cristela Alonso, so I'm not actually sure who is talking right here. Also spliced into that voiceover is a new shot of lightning crashing where you actually get to see him hit the pavement. It is kind of hard to look at. But if you can take your eyes off of lightning and look in the background, it looks like the track itself is on fire. I don't personally watch enough NASCAR to know if that's what happens to the track after a car crashes on it, like it just starts smoking. But if that's not a common occurrence, then maybe it could indicate some sort of explosion that, caused lightning to crash. Actually, I'm not even sure this is the same crash that we saw earlier because in the first shot we saw lightning crashing, it's definitely daytime. This shot is definitely at nighttime. So I don't know, maybe it's the same crash, but one is lightning remembering or dreaming of the other, or who knows, maybe lightning is just going to be crashing all the time. Moving on, we get a few shots of Mac and his new paint job. And I think it's worth noting here that in 2 of the shots, he's driving over bridges, which I think is a very intentional metaphor for Lightning's journey in this movie. He's literally crossing the bridge from one stage of his life to the next. Also, the clouds over that second bridge are somewhat reminiscent of the cloud wallpaper in Andy's bedroom, just sort of flipped over, but I don't know, it's a little bit hard to tell. That's also just how clouds actually look. And the final shot we get of Mac is him driving into the desert where you can see a bunch of cars carved out of the rocks. Then we cut to inside of Mac where we see lightning, and it looks like he's looking out at the view, but I don't think he is. I think he's actually watching a TV, and what's on the TV is the shot we just saw of Mac driving into the desert, and lightning is watching the coverage of himself. The voiceover at this point in the trailer does say, "Will Lightning McQueen retire?" And it kind of sounds like a reporter, so that could definitely be what's happening here. Also, have to note the stark difference between Lightning's trailer in Cars 1 and Cars 3. In Cars 1, it is basically a bright, shiny shrine to himself. In Cars 3, it is very basic, very simple, and kind of gloomy looking, just sort of canyon wallpaper, a few pictures from Radiator Springs, and a framed picture of Sally. Aww. Then we cut back to the start of the race at the Motor Speedway of the South, and then start getting our first really good looks at Jackson Storm. First, we see him training in a wind tunnel with a bunch of scientists watching him, and I just love all the modern companies they came up with to be his sponsors, just Combustor and Igniter, and my favorite one is Carbon Cyber. Then we get to see him driving on a virtual racetrack, which just looks super cool. His top speed on the day is 210, although we just learned from some other posters Pixar released that Storm's max speed is 214 miles an hour and Lightning's is 198. And the voiceover here says that Jackson Storm is part of the next generation of high-tech racers. Plural. So I don't think he's a standalone car. I think there's going to be a bunch of other cars like him in the pack. He's just going to be the best amongst them. And to prove it, they give us a few shots of him winning some races on some very interesting tracks. The Rust Belt Raceway, the Copper Canyon, and wait for it, the BNL Raceway. Oh yeah. The Pixar theory is strong with this one. I'm watching you, BNL. But let's cut back to the Copper Canyon finish because we get a really great shot of the crowd. The first thing I notice is who they're all supporting. There's actually a lot for the number 64, so that could be an interesting character. There's a few for Lightning, some for number 33, whoever that is, but interestingly, nobody for Jackson Storm. Not only that, look at the eyes of the audience. They all look just so bored, like this guy is just taking all of the fun out of racing. But nonetheless, the confetti flies as we see Lightning watch Jackson Storm take the stage. Also, we get to see that that race was sponsored by Dynaco. That's kind of cool. Next, we see Lightning entering a really run-down looking raceway. I think it's called Thomasville Raceway. It's kind of hard to tell. It looks like someone installed an air conditioner over the T. Either way, it looks like it is a dirt track that used to be a part of the Piston Cup. So I feel like there's definitely got to be some sort of Doc Hudson connection there. And we get this really quick but great shot of the Piston Cup logo just like blurred out and behind a fence. Which again, I think is a pretty intentional metaphor. Like, Lightning, you cannot even literally focus on the Piston Cup until you get through or over this fence. And in order to do that, you have to learn to race smarter, not faster. Enter Cruz Ramirez. Here is where we actually get to hear her first words. "You need my help, Mr. McQueen." Just followed by a quick montage from a bunch of different races. There's not a whole lot to point out here as the trailer's really just wanting you to focus on their really clever pun. It's not over until lightning strikes. But we do get a good look at number 54, who has all of the same sponsors as Jackson Storm, which I think just confirms the theory from earlier that yes, there are other high-tech cars in the field. I also love the shot they give you of Lightning pulling out of the pits way faster than Jackson Storm. Like, that's one way he's racing smarter, not faster. Not that he's not going fast though, because it looks like he's in the second pit position, which means he would have qualified in second place for that race. Yeah, I know some things about NASCAR. And the voiceover here is Lightning saying, "I'm coming for you, Storm," and then they show you the shots of them racing at the LA Speedway. And Cars 1, that's the location of the final race. So my theory is that the movie is going to open with the final race of one season of the Piston Cup at the LA Speedway, and that is where Lightning is going to have his big crash. Then at the end of the movie, it'll be the end of the next season, and they'll have their big epic rematch. And then of course the bulk of the movie will be what Lightning is doing to train in between. And what he's doing to train looks like it involves some demolition derby? This shot right here, that looks like Lightning disguising himself with the number 15 just painted on the side, and either that's demolition derby where you just like run into other cars, or else some crazy dirt track racing he's doing. But being in disguise is interesting because it's like he's training and he doesn't want other people to know what he's doing. Either way, it looks like there's going to be a lot of explosions and it makes me very excited. Which leads us to the final shot of the trailer, Lightning driving up to a huge number 95. Hard to say if this is going to be at like the beginning of the movie or the end. Maybe it's like a Hall of Fame type situation. Guess we're just gonna have to wait and find out. And that's pretty much it. After that, the trailer ends with just the word summer on the Cars logo. But once again, the name of the movie, Cars 3, appears nowhere in the trailer because Pixar has super mega powerful branding, and they don't even need to tell you what you're looking at. Oh man, I have to tell you, this trailer has done nothing but make me even more excited for Cars 3. It feels like we're getting the sequel we deserve. Like, this is the real Cars 2. Almost as if they're just saying, yeah, forget we made Cars 2. In fact, notably missing from this trailer are Mater, Fennec Missile, and Holly. Now, I'm sure Mater is actually going to be in the movie, but you really get the feeling that they just want to distance themselves from that entire situation. Then I hope you are feeling a lot better. My question for you and everyone else is, what characters do you hope to see in Cars 3, and what movies are you most looking forward to in 2017? Let me know in the towel section down below. Thanks for watching. As always, please like this video if you haven't already, and subscribe so you don't miss any future Pixar action from us. If you want to see how cars are actually alive, you can check out this video right here, or if you want to see Ben and